I'm Rachel Horgan. Join me each episode as I sit down with a guest co-host covering the latest business stories in the Seattle area. We'll read the news so you don't have to. This is The Weekly. Welcome back, everybody. Quick, big update in my life. I went to juggling club last night. For those that don't know, I learned in kindergarten through 5th grade, and we went from scarves to balls to rings to pins. And if you juggle enough pins, and you do well enough, you can qualify for juggling fire or knives, which I did, but I didn't actually juggle the fire and knives. I did qualify, though, which to me sounds insane that a 5th grader would be doing that, but at the time, very normal it felt. So John, I'll tell you this story, but I was on this date. We ended up at this bar. I see these guys juggling afar, and I was like, hold on, I'll be right back. I must go over there. And I start juggling with them, and they're like, you got to join our juggling group. It's every Wednesday.
What were they juggling? Not knives?
No, neon balls.
Yeah.
Like, so you can
normal
see, because it
things.
was like, yeah, you know, classic. But they were like, we juggle every Wednesday at the Ballard Community Center. You got to go. So I went last night, and I had so much fun.
How long did it take you?
To like get back into the rhythm of it?
Yeah.
Pretty quickly. I mean, I wasn't like great. I mean, I can still juggle, but like your muscle memory comes right back. Yeah. So it was just a really cool experience. But anyway.
I've never done it. Yeah.
Never.
I admire those who
down.
can juggle. Yeah.
I'll teach you.
It's so Seattle, a juggling club in Ballard.
I know it is. Okay, so if you don't recognize that voice, that is Jon Scholes, President and CEO of Downtown Seattle Association. Hello.
Hello.
So I had my 100th episode / 2 year, and I had the first guest I'd ever had on, Alex Halverson, and then my third guest ever, Rob Smith. I know you both of them.
Yeah.
You were my 4th guest ever.
Oh.
So this kind of is like
102 years. You were.
I know.
You were going at a good clip. Congratulations.
I was like, that can't be right. It can't.
We got to 100, but it took us 4. So.
Yeah, you're twice a month, right? Or so.
Yeah, every other week or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Congratulations. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. It's been about 2 years. So since you've been on the podcast, I'm excited to have you back. But why don't we start, since we're talking podcasts, you had your 100 year. How is it going? It's Seattle City Makers. I should give a plug. I love it. We have some of the similar guests on. So sometimes I'll listen to like an episode from like 3 years ago to kind of prep for my interview. But yeah, how's it going?
And your format is so unique and different from what we're doing. Even if we're talking to the same people, we're talking about different things often.
Totally.
So yeah, it's been a ton of fun, and we're in our 5th season. And so we are trying to bring forward, conversations with folks who shape how we experience Seattle: arts and culture, music, food, real estate, business, those who have an impact on this great city of ours, and to get a little bit more insight and background on kind of how they did it, how they're doing it, where they came from, how they make decisions, what's next. So I just learn a ton, and I think I'd do it even if nobody listened.
Yeah.
It's just a great way to, for me to continue to
it's like
gain perspective and knowledge about this great place and the people behind it.
Is there anybody coming up that you are excited about or that you want to mention for people to, or an old episode you want people to go tune into? Anything that stands out to you?
Our most recent episode is with Kate Nagel Caroluzzo, the executive director of Town Hall, and I've recently joined their board, and so more involved with their organization, and they do so much great work to bring civic discourse and conversation together in a 100-plus-year-old former church and historic building. So that's our latest, and we'll be talking soon to the CEO of Horizon House. They have recently broken ground on a brand new residential senior assisted living facility up on First Hill. That's 70% pre-sold before they even, or pre-leased, I guess it is, before they even break ground. And they've got, I think, 500 units or so already of senior housing up on First Hill. So we'll be talking to her, and then the CEO of Goodwill shortly thereafter. So yeah, it's just a lot of variety of people that usually senior leaders in their field of whether it's arts or music or food or assisted living or Goodwill.
That's been on my mind. I wanted to do a business of assisted living episode, because that's really
a lot of capital going to assisted living developments across the country.
No, I just haven't figured out exactly how to tackle it. But anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so also it's been 2 years. What's changed for DSA? First of all, I'm back at the DSA office, which is a different office than last time. So that's
we got a new home over here at 2nd and Pine in what used to be the Nordstrom Rack building. Referred to as the Broadacres building years ago. I don't know if it's still referred to as that. I think 1601 2nd is now the address, and also how the building is referred to. So I should use its proper name. But we've got the 8th floor, and our ambassador teams are on 2. We love it. It's fun being by the market, obviously, and just in the heart of it all. So we've been here since the fall, and we needed more space for our ambassadors because that program has grown quite a bit over the last several years. And we had a great home over in the Times Square building at 5th and Olive, but long ago outgrew it. So they've got much better space. Sellen did the build out for us on the second floor for them, and lockers and break room and kitchen and changing areas and
all the things.
So terrific space for them. And then the rest of our team up on the 8th floor. So we love it.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into all of what the ambassadors are all about and more of what you do at the DSA. But one more question before we get into the articles, which is, were you knighted by the Winter by the Water?
Yeah, if you would please, for the rest of the podcast, address me as
Sir Jon Scholes.
Yeah,
yes.
if you would. Yes, I was honored to be knighted by Seafair at the
Winter by the Water
Festival, the first ever last weekend, which was great, and love what they do, obviously, just as a Northwest kid, but also certainly as in my role here. They've brought so much energy downtown, and the Torchlight Parade that moved from 4th to the waterfront this summer, and the kickoff to summer that they did on Pier 62, and now doing some programming and events that we were happy to present or partner and act as presenting sponsor with during the winter, and kind of getting us out of our
slump. I mean, good for the businesses to bring.
Embrace the cozy, embrace the elements, just get out there.
It's hard to get us out.
So they had music and all kinds of different activities, and former Seahawks playing pickleball and all kinds of stuff. So we hope to do it again with them, and hats off to Emily Cantrell. And it was lovely getting knighted by Queen Carmen Best and King Eric Johnson.
That's right.
I feel honored to be part of the royalty now.
Okay, Sir Jon, we are going to move on to, we've got 3 kind of topics for you. The first one, there's no specific article. I'll link a couple in the show notes, but we are going to be talking about downtown Seattle, and then also as a subset of that, FIFA and what's to come and things like that, because obviously we've got the downtown Seattle expert with us. Then our next one you suggested, which is a hot topic of the CCTV debate about in Seattle of whether we should add them or not. So we're going to
public safety cameras.
Yes. Yep. So we're going to have a interesting conversation about that. And then we'll close out with the update on Benaroya Hall and what's going on over there. So let's get into it. The first one, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about downtown Seattle. So give us some stats. There's one that I saw that I thought was interesting, is that we are at 58% of office workers downtown compared to pre-pandemic average. You have an event coming up where you're going to showcase a bunch of data, and you collect data, I think, every month as well, right? For tracking all of this kind of foot traffic, all of that. So I guess my first question, do you think it's still helpful to compare to pre-pandemic? Is that still the goal when you are pulling all this data? Is that important to compare to?
I think it's a useful baseline, but your point's, I think, a good one that, we're 6 years now from the start of the pandemic, but we are still on a monthly basis sort of using 2019 as a baseline of sorts when we're looking at the number of folks back in their offices, visitors downtown, number of people living downtown, locals visiting, et cetera. And since we last talked 2 years ago, we've generally seen positive progress in each of those areas. Record number of people living downtown, 109,000 or so in the greater downtown, Seattle Center down to T-Mobile and First Hill to the water, that general geography. And then return to work, those that are back 3 or more days a week, it's kind of been from 58% to it'll get up to 65%, sort of in that neighborhood. We certainly like to see it higher. I think in the long run, it goes higher. I don't know that we ever get back to 100% and 5 days a week, but we continue to see companies either expand their policies and requirements for people to be back or enforce them more strictly than they were before. So we keep a careful watch on return to office. And then visitor numbers have continued to be strong. In January, those 2 Seahawks home games drove a lot of visits to downtown Seattle. 380,000 visitors that came into town on January 17th. It was one of the busiest days.
Wow.
Busiest January days since before 2019.
Oh my goodness.
So that was the 49er game
right
here. It was a beautiful day, 5:00 start. So just people everywhere early in the day on the waterfront through the market. I was out and about. And so that was a great day. And so sports downtown are
really
great business for downtown to just help activate the streets. And we've had some great sport moments downtown. So, generally continued progress. I think it's tenuous. I think we need to continue to focus on the things that are important to attracting people back, whether you're coming back as a resident or coming to live here for the first time, or you're a visitor, whether you're a visitor locally or from somewhere else, or whether you're coming back to the office. It's got to be safe. It's got to be delightful and clean, a great experience. It's got to be, great retail and food and events and arts and culture, all those things. So we need to continue to stay the course and continue this progress.
What about, I think last time we talked, there was a big focus on getting people who live downtown to come out and frequent or close to downtown in the kind of areas. And obviously we were trying to get the tourists and trying to get everybody, but I think there was a focus on kind of people around here visiting their own neighborhood. Is that
Yeah,
still...
we pay close attention to the folks who live within 10 miles of
yeah.
downtown. Yeah. And, downtowns, to be successful, have to be relevant to locals. We, of course, want everybody from around the world to come here. They're going to do that for the World Cup here in just a few months. We want people from around the country to come and get on a cruise boat or come to a convention. But we want downtown to be relevant and loved by locals. And if locals love it, everybody else will too. So we were slow coming out of the pandemic to regain the frequency of visits from people living within 10 miles. We've made up a lot of ground there and have seen really significant increases, particularly last year. I think the waterfront and the fact that it's done, it's open, it's awesome, it's incredible, is a big factor in that. It's a big invitation to people that may have not been downtown since 2019 or early 2020, or may not have been coming that often, to come check it out. And when they do, they have a fabulous experience and hopefully do other things and then think about coming back.
Yeah. Speaking of the waterfront, you mentioned that. I think DSA was pretty involved, or you were involved in some way. So what were any kind of lessons learned or kind of any experience or story you can share from that process of the waterfront?
Yeah, it took a long time, but it was worth it. And I think the lesson is Seattle can do big things.
Yeah.
The complexity of that project, the different agencies involved, the fact that all the utilities had to get relocated off of the viaduct. The viaduct had to be taken down. We had to replace the seawall. The biggest, largest diameter tunnel in the world had to be bored. Remember when the boring machine got stuck? It was stuck in the ground for 2 years or so.
Yeah.
Well, I had to replace the head, all of that, like the complexity of
the Overlook Walk. Sorry, that part of the waterfront, like Overlook Walk redevelopment. I guess that was.
I was getting to that.
Oh, sorry. I guess you're right. It is a whole lot. I think of
and then a new aquarium got built and an Overlook Walk on top of the aquarium, right? So like. All of that to me is the story of the waterfront that started with an earthquake in 2001 that damaged the 50-plus-year-old viaduct and forced the question of what are we going to do with this thing? Do we rebuild it? Do we bury it? And we as an organization at that time took a really strong position. Like, let's not make this mistake twice. So the viaduct served an important purpose for many decades, but we don't need to cut off our waterfront, cut off our downtown from our waterfront. And so we had a perspective that we should bury the traffic and reclaim that space and build a fabulous park. And so that's done. And then more is coming. There's about $50 million in investment in Myrtle Edwards and Centennial Park, and then in a greenway connection between those parks and the Olympic Sculpture Park down to the Overlook and Pier 62. That'll all be done later this spring.
I was just going to ask what was coming next. Okay.
Yeah, that's coming next. I think it's one of the least discussed and known about, but also coolest projects in the city right now. Expanded beaches, better trails for pedestrians and bikers, lots more seating, beautiful concession building with restrooms, with food and drink, with outdoor seating, a fire pit, kids' play areas. It's super cool.
Wow.
Sellen's building it. Walker Macy designed it, some great local firms, and it'll create this seamless experience 3.5 miles from Smith Cove down to Pioneer Square.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Okay, I have one more question on downtown. We'll move to FIFA, but you talked about your ambassadors, and I think a lot of us have seen those people that are in the neon yellow. You see them kind of picking up trash, but I don't know if people fully understand that, A, they're connected to the DSA, but a little bit more about what that program is and how the business community is tied into that, if you could explain. Yeah,
started in 1999. Our organization founded a district supported by property owners. Today, there's about 1,300 property owners that are investing about $20 million a year. So if you own a hotel, a residential building, office building, retail, et cetera, within a certain geography in downtown, you're paying in voluntarily. And that supports 165 full-time ambassadors in a variety of functions, cleaning, safety, hospitality, that are out caring for this place and the people here, whether you're a visitor or whether you're maybe suffering on the street and you need to get connected to services. So we're on the street 362 days a year, about 6:30, 7 in the morning till 9 p.m. at night. And a large majority of our team are folks who've come out of the prison system, come out of King County Drug Court, come off the streets themselves. And so it's an employment opportunity for them to regain purpose, wages, benefits, and housing in a lot of cases as well. Yeah. So we're super proud of it and proud of them. And we would not be where we are today with the progress we've made around downtown revitalization without their work and the investment of property owners. And it's the largest investment they've ever made in the history of this program. So they've doubled down, and even in these, challenging, uncertain times, and we've got office vacancy and this and that, property owners have been super committed to this program and see the value. Yeah. And so everybody benefits.
Do you see that? I know you travel to a lot of other major cities. Do you see something similar in other cities, or are we better than everybody else?
We're one of the largest as far as like the scale of our program, the amount of geography and blocks we take care of. We cover about 300 square blocks, and then the size of the team of 165. There's similar programs in a lot of downtowns, but the scale of the program here in Seattle is somewhat unique.
It's very cool. It's very cool. You should be really proud of this program. Okay, let's shift over to FIFA. So do you have a number on projected impact on the businesses in downtown, or do you have some stats you can share about what we should expect with FIFA coming?
We expect to have about 700,000 people that come through here over a 7-8 week period. So that's a significant amount of people. And, some of those folks will have tickets to the matches. Many won't, but they'll be staying in hotels, hanging out in bars, hanging out in parks, and at watch parties. So I think it's going to be a fabulous party. And our city, downtown specifically, is really set up well as a host city because of how proximate Lumen is to the core of downtown, to the hotels, to the waterfront, having light rail access. It's a walkable fan experience. Mm-hmm. And not to pick on, other host cities, but they all can't claim that. The stadium in certain cities is
not
quite
just
some
cities,
distance.
but you were saying in a lot of major cities, it's rare to have your stadium so close to the downtown core. Yeah. Yeah,
we're unique in some respects, and it's one of the reasons FIFA wanted to be here, and they were here in 2021, I believe 22. We had a meeting or a reception at the Spheres with their leadership before they awarded Seattle, and they had been down at Lumen, and instead of catching an Uber or taking the train, they're like, we're going to walk, because you all say this is a walkable fan experience. We want experience. So they walked from Lumen to the reception at the Spheres and really got to appreciate how walkable this place was. So that's going to be unique, and the downtown's going to benefit from that. And we're going to have watch parties in a number of different parks and other places like Pacific Place and the Convention Center. We'll have Westlake Park activated with screens and beer gardens. So I think whether you have a ticket to the match or not, most of us won't. It's going to be a pretty phenomenal experience. And, we get 6 matches here in Seattle, 7 up in Vancouver. So that combined energy along the I-5 corridor of 13 matches, men's match in the second round here against Australia. There's some unique attributes to the Northwest hosting soccer over this period. And the watch parties that we're going to do, and I know others are going to do, not just watch parties for the 6 matches that will be here in Seattle, but we want to be able to show as many games, if not all the games.
Yeah. You mentioned walkable. I've been seeing a lot of people talking about the Unity Loop. Is that something you were saying earlier, or is that a different project of this Unity Loop? Tell me more about it.
Different from the Elliott Bay Connections project, which is on the waterfront. But the Unity Loop is led by the local organizing committee here that's been working to help put on the games in partnership with FIFA and other organizations in the city to really encourage visitors to explore other neighborhoods in and around and beyond downtown. And we want to spread the energy of the 700,000 people that are coming here, make sure that many neighborhoods, many small businesses are benefiting, and that these folks are experiencing and seeing all that Seattle has to offer. So
it sounds like they're going to make some fun stuff along the route.
Yeah, as I understand it, sort of heavily branded maps, pointing out attractions, things to check out. Okay. And this is such a walkable city. Right. It's such a fabulous time of year weather-wise. We expect soccer fans to be
all about it.
Yeah, all about it, out and about, and in a bunch of different neighborhoods in downtown and beyond.
we talked about these watch parties, and from an events perspective, what I found interesting, are you tracking the like new alcohol law? Is that on your radar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, there was a law that passed last year that expanded alcohol service in public spaces during major events. Essentially, I think passing it for this reason for FIFA. So it's when you plan an event with a beer garden, first of all, you have to have a beer garden typically, and then typically you have to have like 2 fences that go around it. Now it sounds like a lot less restrictions, and my understanding is it was meant for like Seattle Center. People can buy a cocktail one place, walk to another place, and businesses can get this license together. Is that your understanding of this new law?
Yeah, it's a lot more flexible than the old
Yeah.
rules. And where, if you wanted to have a beer at an outdoor event like this, you sort of felt like a caged chicken of, stuck behind
Yeah.
chain link fence.
Yes.
And it's, all that's expensive too. And it's sort
Totally.
of disruptive to the public space. So I think the Liquor Control Board and state legislature did the right thing here, and it'll make for a better experience in Westlake and other places that fans may want to have a beer and watch soccer.
Yeah, when I was working CFR, I was planning the music's main stage, and the beer. It's hard because like you can't
so
put a beer garden
you
right in
know.
front of the stage, but also it's hard to be on the side of the stage. So yeah, it's tough.
Yep.
Okay, so what would you say to any business owner listening right now? How would you advise them to leverage what's coming with FIFA? What advice do you have for them?
Know that there are going to be a lot of people here that love soccer, that want to have a good time, that want to take part in what the city has to offer, and open your arms. Think about how you can relate and be relevant to that fan base and the moment of welcoming so many people here around the world's most popular game. This will be the biggest tournament ever, the most teams. And also, how can you be relevant to the specific countries and teams that are coming here? They'll be fan bases that come just to sort of be around their team. Again, whether they're not all going to have a ticket, but they want to be around the action. So I think we know who we're going to be hosting as far as the teams, and we have the draws. So, figure out how can you be relevant.
I know we both
entice
talked
people in.
to Scott at Seattle Art Museum. He talked about how he's trying to redo his like lobby entry area so it catches their eye. Obviously you have the hammer guy, but like just to try and get some of those people walking by in a little bit more. So.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. I think we're going to need a lot more third places where people just want to hang and chill and rest after they've been walking around our city in the Unity Loop, right? So,
Totally.
The lobby, ground floor of the Seattle Art Museum, I know Scott has been trying to like make that more of a living room and a third space. So I think businesses, property owners that have the ability to create more third spaces, try some different things out to welcome people in, serve them a cup of coffee, a drink, or even if it's just a comfortable place to sit and there's music and there's other things that you can program and that may take place. I think you will find benefit there. And then hopefully they go up to the museum or spend some money doing other things, depending on the type of business you've got.
Totally. I'm going to move on unless there's something else you're dying to share. Okay.
It's going to be a great time.
All right. So,
well, and the last thing I would say is, we have a bid in for 2031 for the Women's World Cup.
I didn't know that.
For Seattle to host as well. It'll be a distributed model again between the U.S. and a couple other countries in North America here. So we don't know for sure yet, but there's a real good chance that we'll have some women's matches here in 2039.
That'd be awesome. All right, we're going to move into this CCTV debate. So if you weren't aware, the city council passed some ordinances to expand CCTV and live camera feeds throughout the city. There was a lot of public pushback saying that it invades privacy and civil liberties. Something to note is that Mayor Katie Wilson did campaign on opposing this expansion, but since she's been elected, she's kind of softened on that. So Sir John wrote an op-ed about this. So before we get into this topic, I do want to talk about writing an op-ed. I think there's some listeners that are maybe interested in doing it. So I have 2 questions for you. How do you get into that? How do you even write an op-ed? Do you just submit it into a random email? And 2, what kind of advice do you have when you're writing an op-ed for a newspaper?
Yeah, advice, have a clear point of view and perspective and on a topic that's timely and relevant, and keep it under 600 words.
There you go.
And we have great leaders here who help get in place and have great relationships with reporters and editorial board, and not everybody has that, but you can still submit, and the Seattle Times and other outlets create avenues for that. So I appreciate them running our perspective a few weeks ago.
I would also say from when I worked in the newspaper, I think less people email in opinions than you'd think. Well, a lot of people have like random comments, but less people email in a full written op-ed.
Yeah.
And I know my publisher at the time wanted to get more diverse thought. And so she was actively reaching out to people. So if you're listening and you have an opinion on something, don't wait for somebody to email you. Just send in your...
Yeah, and you don't have to be the head of an association or whatever to get your opinion published.
That's a good point. Okay, the floor is yours. Let's hear the argument. What's the op-ed?
So, yeah, the city has recently installed about 60 or so public safety cameras that tie back to the Real-Time Crime Center, which opened last year. The cameras went live in May. They're triggered when a 911 call is made. So there's not police officers or others sitting behind screens watching cameras all day. The cameras are pointed to public areas, not private. So sidewalks and streets and areas of our city. We have quite a few downtown now, as there's some up on Aurora Avenue North as well. And the council has approved the expansion of cameras. And the cameras are working. They're helping police officers, detectives solve crimes, apprehend suspects that very likely would not be apprehended either at all or in as timely a fashion. And anybody can go to the Seattle Police Blotter website and see some of these examples where officers or the SPD has summarized recent examples of specific crimes and how the cameras have been useful in apprehending suspects. And for me, it comes down to, somebody mentioned a couple weeks ago after our op-ed published that they'd never, and I think they were a prosecutor, that they never heard a victim of crime or a juror say, we wish we had less evidence when it comes to a certain crime. And these are helping put officers in a better position too, of not just some sort of random description of a suspect, but the Real-Time Crime Center is able to give them an actual image of a suspect who just committed a crime, and the video exists. And then the officers know who they're looking for, and they have the evidence of it. And so they're not just randomly stopping a bunch of different people. So I commend the city council for the safeguards they put in place around this. Videos after 5 days are destroyed. There's all kinds of other safeguards. There's a independent review that's taking place. We think they've been helpful. We need more of them. We're a big city. This is modern technology. These help us hold events in a safer way. If we're inviting thousands of people from around the state or world to come here for big events, it's important that we can deliver a safe and secure experience to those promoters of those events, whether it's FIFA or somebody else, but also to the attendees who expect to be able to come and have a great time and be safe. Yeah,
and I think those are very valid and great points. I was kind of reading pros and cons on this whole argument, and one of the concerns seems to really be centered around not necessarily the cameras and solving crime, but trusting the people that have access to the cameras. And specifically, there's some fear around the federal government getting involved, the immigration. What makes you so sure that this won't get into the wrong hands?
Because of the safeguards the city has put in place. And also we have cameras on just about everything else. And so, the federal government could access the cameras on metro buses, the cameras at our train stations, the cameras at the airport. The cameras on light poles that the Seattle Department of Transportation utilizes, which is numbers in the hundreds, if not thousands. So we are a city of cameras already, and we think it makes sense to use certain cameras to make us a city that's safer and to use them for that purpose. And they've done that to date in the limited time that they've been deployed. In the first 60 days since following their deployment, they were utilized in 600 different incidents. They've been used to apprehend suspects in 10 different homicides. So they're proving their value in making our city safer.
Yeah, I read that this was passed 8-0 in the city council to protect basically just that the federal government can't come in and just say that they want this. There's some, like you said, some protections. I also found it interesting, like I said, this one was passed 7-2, but like I said, there's a lot of general public opposition. What do you think that says about our city council's way of explaining? Because I think you explained this really well, and I think there's probably a lot of people that maybe haven't heard some of the information that you're sharing. Do you think that city council has maybe a problem explaining some of these things, or do you think that we're all listening to the wrong, our siloed channels? What's the problem there?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that's not known about this program and how it was developed and how it's being deployed, who has access, who doesn't, what are the safeguards. And it's, some of that's because it's new, and and there's a lot going on, right? There's a lot to track in our city, and not everybody can go visit the real-time crime center and sort of see how it works. I've been able to do that on a couple of occasions. But again, you can go to the police blotter, their website, their blog. The legislation's available. We can read through the safeguards. I just think there's a lot that's not known about this. And I credit Mayor Wilson for saying, hey, I'm still looking at this. I'm here, want to listen to people. I want to hear from people, and acknowledging on a podcast recently that she believes there'd be fewer crimes that are solved if we didn't have these cameras. So I commend her for taking a careful look at this, because I know she had one perspective when she ran, and I think her perspective is evolving as she talks to more people.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I'm glad that she's kind of taking that time to research. The last one on this was just, since we're talking about city council, how does the DSA really interact with city council? Are there laws or ordinances that you come up with that you pitch to them, or do you write in your opinion? Do you have access to them? What does that look like?
We're advocating on behalf of a healthy, vibrant downtown for all, and everybody that's interested and invested in that mission. And so the city's role, the council, the mayor, departments is critical. And so we see the city as a important partner, and are engaged with them on a wide variety of issues around parks and our public spaces, and our transportation and transit access, and land use and zoning, and public safety and homelessness. So great cities have great partnerships between the public and private sector. And so we are often at the table with council. Sometimes we're bringing our own ideas. Sometimes we're responding to their ideas. We're trying to learn from other cities, bring best practices. But Seattle can't be healthy without a healthy downtown, and that's a message we bring forward.
I imagine you guys are working closely together. What I like about you is that I follow you on LinkedIn. I feel like you make your opinions clear and known, and you're not afraid to say, like, this is a bad idea, and I think some people try to be really PC and please everybody, but I like that you kind of put it out there. I try not to cover too much politics on this show most often, but what I've found, to your point, is that the public-private partnership is so intertwined. And so when I'm talking about business news, it's related to a lot of what City Council is doing. So I've loosened up on that, and I've brought a lot more into it, because you have to.
Yeah, local politics affects us all, and how we live our lives and move around a city. And
don't they say, like, a lot of people obviously pay attention to the federal elections, but local elections impact your daily life a lot more?
Yeah, they sure typically do. Your bus ride, your train ride, whether you can use a credit card to get on a train now, which you
Tap
can. It's awesome. The frequency of train service, which is now 5 minutes and not 12. The quality of your park system, schools, all of that, right? And and how your downtown feels and is, and whether it's healthy and thriving or not, and do we have healthy retail and restaurants and a great new waterfront park. I mean, so many of those decisions are made here, not in DC.
Yep, well said. Okay, we're going to move on to the last one, which is about Benaroya Hall. So if you're not familiar, Benaroya Hall is here downtown, and it hosts our Seattle Symphony. It also hosts other events. I've done private events there. They do different talks. It's very, very cool. But it is going to be closing in July, and then it'll reopen in September, because it's going to do a big renovation. They're going to do things like a new welcome check-in desk, a cafe, a lounge. There's a community room, and it sounds like just overall some upgrades. The funding, it is funded through a $20 million campaign that they raised. And then I wanted to shout out, the architect is Mithun, and the general contractor is Sellen. So these are both Seattle companies that are going to be working on it. So shout out to them. And the last thing that stood out to me on this article is that I didn't know the Symphony is searching for a permanent president CEO. So if you're listening and you're interested,
that's right,
they're looking for one.
Yeah, this is a great project.
Reactions.
And I got to tour with the interim CEO, I don't know, 5 or 6 months ago, just to learn more about what is being proposed. And it's going to be terrific. The public areas of the Symphony getting completely redone. And so, we talked about third spaces earlier. And I think the space that fronts 3rd Avenue is going to be a much better, more delightful, welcoming third place, whether you're going to the Symphony or not. And then the interior lobby, a new sort of club, bar, cafe experience as well. So, really taking what we've seen in arenas and stadiums when it comes to elevating the fan experience with higher quality food and beverage and lounge access, and just sort of that great vibe, and bringing it to a terrific arts and cultural venue. It's smart. It's what people expect and want if you're going to draw them into ticketed events and get them off the couch or from behind the Netflix or out of their own neighborhood. They want high quality, delightful experience.
Yes, I've always said that people will pay for something worth going to as long as the dollar amount matches the experience that they're having. So I'm glad Benaroya Hall is doing this improvement. So Benaroya Hall is on 3rd Ave, and while that's closed, also we have Ross closing, and we know that 3rd Ave can be a challenge in downtown. So what is your approach as you think about improving this area and what's to come?
In the short term, beautification, more lighting, better looking storefronts, more flowers. We've done some of that in certain blocks, and more is to come with catenary lighting stretching between buildings on the Pike to Union block and the Pike to Pine block. We're also taking a storefront at 3rd and Pine, the former Mountain Hardware space, for our own use for our trikes and bikes that our ambassadors use, plus mechanics that will be working out of there. And we're going to completely remake that corner and that storefront to take some of the plywood off the windows, put some planters and flowers in, some bistro tables and chairs, just to bring some more life to that corner. We saw an opportunity because we store a bunch of stuff in a parking garage right now and have a lot of bikes and electric trikes for our cleaning ambassadors to, instead of having that buried underground, let's bring it to the street level. And then ultimately, we hope that somebody comes back in that space and it's a retailer. So short term, let's make it look better, feel better, brighter, lighter, et cetera. And then in the long term, we really need to reduce the bus volumes on that corridor. We've overburdened that street over many, many years with a concentration of bus service. That's important to get people in and out of here, but we've asked one street to do a lot of work, and it creates a really challenging pedestrian experience. So we put out a vision in 2019, pre-pandemic. It kind of went on the shelf of a couple different concepts for how we reconfigure transit service on 3rd Avenue, give more space to pedestrians, expand the sidewalks, more landscaping, sort of soften it up a bit. And that's a vision we're going to work to continue to advance and see if we can get alignment and agreement with Metro and the city and property owners around what that looks like.
Would you, part of that be allowing cars on 3rd Ave for different hours?
Yeah, it could. The three concepts didn't consider that, but we're not necessarily wedded to one of those. We did that planning work with ZGF to sort of start a conversation to say, this can be better. This street is important. It needs to function with some amount of transit, likely in the future, but it also needs to be a great street for people. And we can take some lessons from other cities. Denver just completely redid 16th Street in their downtown, opened it late last year, a $150 million remake. It's a transit street, but it's also a great street to walk. They're rebuilding the retail there as well. It's not overly burdened with buses. There's a good balance there, and we need a better balance on 3rd Avenue.
It's interesting from like a human behavior perspective, where I can imagine, I don't know when this decision was made to make 3rd Ave just bus only, but I can imagine being like, this is such a good idea. Like, we're going to have fast bus routes, it's going to work, and not realizing, I wouldn't have guessed that this is what it would end up doing,
Yeah, there's been some advantages and benefits to it, certainly, of, it's easy to get in and out of downtown. You can get on those buses and get lots of places within the city. But in some ways, it's this kind of big north-south gash through our downtown. We just dealt with one on the waterfront. I mean, the viaduct was sort of a gash in the pedestrian experience. And I think we need to deal with this one, too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, the last question on this is sort of, speaking of the arts, Benaroya Arts, there's that new Cannonball space that took over the Bed Bath & Beyond, and I am just curious how that's going. Anything you want to share about that space?
I know their EDM venue downstairs, I think it's about 1,000 person venue with a massive sound system. Recently opened. They had their first show on February 20th. I'm EDM curious. I don't claim to be an EDM fan, but I'm dying to check it out. And they, they need all of us to embrace what they've done. They've made a big investment in transforming the former Bed Bath & Beyond, 66,000 square feet, into this cool interactive arts culture space.
Cool.
And they have memberships, corporate memberships. When people take risks like that, make investments to create cool things, like, we got to come around and support them. So if folks haven't been in there, get in there, check it out.
Definitely. Okay, we're going to wrap up this episode with what are you leaving behind? What are you stopping doing? You're not doing it anymore.
Well, I'm trying to stop riding the scooter so much so that I can I'm walking more. But it's not going so well. I rode a scooter back to my office to meet you because I thought I was going to be late, but I just ride those too often.
I mean, they're so easy.
They are, but like just walk 4 blocks, right? But I don't write it on the sidewalk, and people need to stop doing that. Stop it.
Yes.
Stop it. Even Marshawn Lynch, he stopped writing on the sidewalk.
Well, and is it 3rd Ave or 2nd Ave? One of them has like a bike lane that goes through the whole thing.
Yeah, we have a pretty extensive bike network that's been expanded over the last 5 years. So there are safe options to scoot, to glide, to ride, and it's not the sidewalk. And don't ding at people.
Okay.
I'm not saying you're doing this.
I feel like,
man, if you want to get a glare from me, ding at me while I'm walking down the sidewalk with my dog, and you're on a scooter asking me to get out of your way. Like,
I think we know what your next op-ed's going to be about.
It ain't happening. And I love Lime and our scooters. And there were 10 million rides taken in the city. Not just downtown, but citywide last year.
It's one of the highest numbers.
It's wild.
My working theory, not backed up by anything, is because our Ubers are so expensive, I think we have more Lime. Because I for sure will do that, where I'm like, oh my God, an Uber's this far. Like, I've had just enough drinks where I think I can ride anywhere. So I'm doing that.
I think you're absolutely right about the Uber cost, not about being able to ride anywhere after a few
Yeah,
drinks,
don't do that, guys. Don't do that. Okay, anything you want to plug? I mentioned you have their March event, or anything else you want the audience to know? Or
March 11th is our State of Downtown. We'll be at the Seattle Convention Center Summit Building, here from Mayor Katie Wilson and County Executive Gurmai Zalahai. And Derek Thompson, the co-author of Abundance with Ezra Klein, will be our keynote. So you can find out more at downtownseattle.org, and then keep an eye out for watch parties, as I mentioned earlier, coming in June at Westlake and other places, and both inside and outside. Lots of options to catch soccer in downtown.
Awesome. Well, Jon, thank you for coming back kind of 2 years later and sitting down with me. It's so fun to see the changes and the updates. I'm just so grateful that you are in the position that you're in and the work that you're doing for Seattle. It's very important. So thank you.
Honored to be back, and congrats on getting your 100th episode under your belt.
Thank you. This has been The Weekly, with production assistance from Nick Patry. If you liked what you heard, rate us and write a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. We love listener feedback, so if you have any story suggestions, comments, or complaints, email us at info@theweeklyseattle.com. Make sure to check back next Sunday for the latest local business news. We'll see you next time.